Hey guys, the Horrific here. Sorry I haven't posted a story time in a while. Was in Africa for a couple weeks on a safari, then in Europe for a couple days, and then I had a bunch of work I had to dig myself out of when I got back. So story time today is going on a family cruise. We used to do family cruises every year with our extended family. Grandparents actually were the driving factor there, and it was a great experience. One of the cruises we did in 2012, we had gone to the Mediterranean, so we'd started in Italy, through Greece and Croatia and Turkey, and then back to Italy. And it was a 10-day cruise, and I decided to conduct a social experiment on that cruise. And for 10 days, I wasn't going to remember anybody's name. Anytime I met you, I was going to give you a nickname. What ended up happening was at the end of 10 days, funny enough, not only were people responding to nicknames I had given them, but guests on the boat were also referring to third parties by nicknames that I had given them. So the nicknames sort of caught on. I gave out somewhere in the ballpark of over 80 nicknames across a 10-day period. It ended up being a lot of fun. So effectively, I'd come up with a nickname based on the conversation I had with you. Met an older guy who went to UCLA, was a captain in the Air Force, and he became Captain Bruin. Met a guy that used to teach little kids, and he became preschool. Met a lady who used to dance on the boat as part of the act after dinner. She, years before, she was there with her family this time, and she had a tattoo of a Big Dipper constellation on her wrist, and so she became Big Dipper Dancy Dance, and so on. So we had 44 people in our family, and across the course of 10 days, we made quite a few friends on the boat, hence so many nicknames. So, funny story, I think I came across 3 people that really did not like the nicknames that I had given them. The first was a bigger British girl who I met in line making a sandwich on the first day. She became Prosciutto. The second was a girl from LA who had a very large set of implants and spray tanned entirely too much, who became Easy Bake Oven. And the third was a gay guy who had a tattoo in the small of his back, and he kept wearing these little European swimsuits with the number 12 on them, and so he became Tramp Stamp 12. Needless to say, all 3 of those are probably the only ones that really didn't like their nicknames, but the rest of the 77 plus people seemed to not have any issues with them. So funny enough, day 2 of the trip, we're sitting in our hotel room. It was my brother, my cousin, and I, and we're starting to get ready for formal dinner. And my cousin starts going, "Oh, my shirt's wrinkly." And so I, who travel a lot for work, end up saying, "Hey, why don't you just go put it in the bathroom, turn the shower on hot, let the steam work out some of the wrinkles." It's a travel trick that most of us who travel for work have probably used at least once. So he comes back out of the shower with his shirt, and he's like, "It's a little damp." And I said, "Well, just put it by the AC, and the AC will dry it out before dinner." So my brother and I are probably in our underwear, lying on the bed, waiting for dinner to get ready, dinner to start. And next thing you know, sirens are going off in my room, and there's water starting to mist from the sky. I have never actually seen a fire sprinkler go off. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but just hadn't been part of my experience up until that point. And I didn't realize that when a fire sprinkler goes off, there's the mist stage where it just starts misting, kind of like your sprinkler out front of your house. And then the propellant tanks kick in. And once the propellant tanks kick in, there's no stopping it, and it's really coming down. So I jump out of bed, mildly irritated that there's a siren going off in my room and it's misting. And all of a sudden the propellant tanks kick in, and we go into crisis mode. My brother takes off down the hall, probably still in his underwear, I think, and I'm starting to chuck electronics out the door of our cabin. I mean, we're talking laptops, GoPros, cell phones, any piece of electronics that we have is just flying out the door into the hall. And after I got that, I started chucking suitcases out. So, there's a fair amount of stuff flying out the front door of our room. And I look back into the room. We had a porthole. And I look back into the room, and my cousin is trying to stop the water with his now completely wrinkle-free shirt, but that wasn't working so well. And I go, hey, are you okay? And he goes, get somebody. So my brother had gone running down the hall, so we had, long story short, we had to switch rooms, clean up all the mess, no big deal, but to tie the two stories together, I gave him the name Sprinkler Boy, and obviously he wasn't too pleased about that nickname. So, fast forward day 3 or 4, and we're in Santorini, Greece, and for those of you who don't know, you used to be able to rent a donkey for €5 and have the donkey carry you up the mountain. If you watch one of my other YouTube videos, that you can see the whole ride up the mountain on the donkey. I don't think they do that anymore, probably for the sake of the donkeys, but also I'm not the lightest person, so I'm sure my donkey did not enjoy that ride as much. Long story short, we get back from this trip, we ride the donkeys up, we get back from that excursion, get back to the boat, and my cousin, who I think was slightly irritated about the Sprinkler Boy name, ended up telling a bunch of people that they don't know why, but for some reason my donkey had died, and that they were doing an autopsy, but initial cause seemed to be 4 broken legs, which we all thought was pretty funny, including myself, until I ended up getting the nickname Donkey Killer, which I had to survive the next 5 days on the boat being known as Donkey Killer. So if you haven't gone on a cruise, totally awesome, highly recommend it. That was story time for today. We've been on, 5 or 6 cruises since then and have many more stories, but yeah, we'll catch up another day. Take care.